Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're having a look at the Devblog for updates Red Skies, and it is the Marder A1 Dash, and I'm just going to be calling it the Marder A1 just because it's easier to do, and it does seem like a weird name coming out of the series. This is a light vehicle which is coming to Germany at rank 5, at least on the dev server. It was 7.0, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to this machine to give it a go. I'm one of those people as well. I really like these light vehicles, and at least on the dev server there was a ton of them which were there, which should be a little bit of fun. Anyway, let's get into the history of this vehicle. In the early 60s in Germany, the development of the first infantry fighting vehicle of the Western nations began. Technically, the Marder was the first of its kind when it came to IFVs in the 60s. Lots of them came a little bit later than that. And an order from the Bundeswehr was given to Rheinmetall AG, where an experimental BMP was developed at the same time as the Leopard 1 project. R&D took about 9 years, during which several prototypes were built, which is pretty standard for a lot of German vehicles. If you know anything about the Leopard 1 and its prototypes, there is a ton of them that we could see in game, which would be really cool. And in its final form, the vehicle entered military tests in 1966, and soon the IFV itself entered mass production under the name SPZ Marder. From 1979 to 1982, the Marder itself went through its first major phase of modernization, during which the vehicle received increased ammunition capacity for the gun, which was the Rheinmetall 20mm autocannon, and also the commander sight was equipped with a night vision device, and the modernized ISV under the index Marder A1 was mass-produced from 1981 to 1982. Around about 3,000 units of Marders of various modifications were produced by Germany, both for arming the Bundeswehr and also for export. And currently the German army is re-equipping itself with the new Puma IFV, but the Marder combat vehicles are still in service to this day. So one of the oldest, if not the oldest IFVs around, and some of its modernizations are still going 50 years later. That's actually pretty awesome, even more than 50 years when you think about it. And the Puma IFV is another one of those vehicles which also got leaked a long time ago. I think it was actually last year that the model of it got leaked. So at some point that'll be coming to the game as well. But seeing the Marder first is an incredibly nice thing and should be pretty fun to play. Now, what is interesting to think about is it wasn't that long ago that Gaijin were thinking about moving the German M48 down to 6.7 because of the competition it was facing and because of the issues it was having with its lineups. And instead of actually doing that, they moved down a bunch of other stuff, such as the Leopard 1 and also a bunch of USSR vehicles. Now, alongside the M48 and the Leopard 1 and also the BMP, the Marder A1 is here, so once again bolstering that lineup, showing that you can get vehicles added to the game, which will completely rejuvenate lineups and mean that the statistics around them will completely change, even just because of one vehicle. It is kind of interesting how all of that stuff happens and why, having a look at certain stats before updates and even during after updates or after updates need a ton of context to them, basically based around the vehicles that are added, the BRs which are changed, and also the general ideas of the maps which people are playing them on. Now, the Marder A1 that we have here, the main armament on it is the 20mm Rheinmetall 202. This is the same gun that you find on the top of the Leopard 2K and the KPZ-70. It's a very fast-firing gun, but doesn't have a ton of penetration because it only has access to HE or AP. It's going to be great at knocking barrels, patrols, taking out tracks, and also dealing with lighter vehicles that are running around the place. And the main thing that this type of gun is good at, same with stuff like the BMP-2, is they are incredibly good at the multi-role purpose, either maiming tanks which are flying about or being able to destroy them through the side, but also going after helicopters, going after planes, especially since at this BR there isn't an actual really good German AA which you can bring out. I know people who will point to the Cougar Blitz and the Coelian. Well, one of those you can't get anymore, and the other one is, I mean, it's okay, I suppose, with the buff to the turret, but it isn't as fast as the Marder, and also the fire rate can be questionable on it. So the fact that you get this multi-purpose machine that's going to be able to scout, that's going to be able to do decent amounts of damage with the 20mm, and also backed up by the Milan ATGM launcher, where you get a few Milans alongside of it, it just gives it a decent amount of killing power, which will be quite fun to play. I've been playing over the last updates, obviously, the South African vehicles. I spaded the Sarks, I spaded the Rattles, I spaded the Eland, and I just kept going forward and forward and forward. And one of the vehicles which I definitely struggled with, at least from the start, was the Rattle 20. And the reason for that is because it's massive, it is very slow, and it has no armor. The Marder, which is the same or similar BR to the Rattle 20, at least right now, has all of the advantages of the Rattle 20 with the gun, the Milan, and the smoke, but also has more speed behind it and also has more armor. So I think I'll have a much better time playing this thing than I would the Rattle 20. It was definitely a bit of a struggle, especially against planes, because planes would just bomb you, and because you were such a big target, it wouldn't be very fun to fight against. I can't even imagine playing those Rattles with the new overpressure mechanic. It doesn't sound fun at all to be able to use. So the fact is, when it comes to this Marder, it has a lot of stuff going for it. It is a vehicle that is going to be fun to play, but the main thing is that it bolsters a lineup which was obviously struggling in the past, even in the past few months and before then, to the point where the M48 was considered to go down to 6.7, which would have been really crazy. So having another vehicle bolster that, and having another vehicle be able to push forward for the Germans, I'm sure will make that lineup a lot better to be able to play. The other thing about it is, since it's been requested for an incredibly long time, it's just nice to see it. It's just one of those vehicles which is kind of synonymous with the IFV idea, and the fact that we get it in the game now just means that it's finally, sorted in a way. Now, there are other Marders that we could easily see as well in the game. There was even prototypes of experimental variants with turrets with very large guns on them. Well, at least compared to the Marder, the one that you see here. So that could definitely be in game at some point. The good old Marder 2. If you don't know what that is, I would definitely say give it a look. And also, at the same time with the Marder A1, with this large map coming, the Red Desert map, having another vehicle which is good for maneuverability will only be positive for it when it comes to moving around. So that will also help it in some ways or another. Hopefully, a lot of people play this thing. Hopefully, people enjoy the IFVs in the game like I do, since they do get access to pretty much everything. Scouting, maneuverability, pretty good armament, and even this thing gets access to MVDs. So if you get in a night battle, you'll be able to at least see. And also, it'll get access to that new mechanic, which is the fire extinguishing mechanic. You'll be able to put out fires with this thing, even if it's other teammates. That's pretty cool also. So overall, lovely to see it. Hopefully we get some more variants in the future. Hopefully we see the Puma IFV as well, and long live IFVs in general. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank BRFC, Swollen Ostrich, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Conte Baraka, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Lafouche, Barine, and Samuel Schlick for supporting the channel.